Hello, everybody, and welcome to Flying Chariots, The Rise. Here with us today is Sara Sophia. And Sara is a paranormal investigator, and obviously she's investigating paranormal encounters and, I think, haunted places. She has her own YouTube channel called Keeping Up with Spirits Paranormal, and Sara has a Facebook group also called Keeping Up with Spirits. Furthermore, she runs a Facebook group called Spiritual Growth. And what else there is to know about Sara, we will hear from herself. So if you don't mind, Sara, please tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you grew up and what triggered your interest in the paranormal, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you guys for having me. I'm very blessed to be here on your guys' podcast. I watch you guys and your podcast that you guys put out there, and they're all absolutely amazing. So when you guys reached out for me to be on, I was like, big thumbs up, totally happening. So yeah, I'm from Ontario, Canada. So I live in Muskoka. So Muskoka is very popular for a lot of celebrities that come out to camp out on the lakes. We have a lot of great lakes out here and beautiful scenery. We also have Burles Creek that a lot of country singers come out to do performances. So it's a very popular little town, and we have Casino Rama, which is very popular as well for concerts and stuff. So I love where I am. I'm very blessed for where I am here in Ontario. So I'm 33 years old. I am a mom of two boys, and my boys are little paranormal investigators. Well, starting to be anyhow. They think I'm crazy and nuts, but they love it. So yeah, I began my journey when I was about 2 to 3 years old. I just, you'll kind of hear familiar stories of how it kind of works out. And my memory is so good. Like I can go back to 2, 3, 4, 5 and remember the things that I would like to remember. My parents go, I don't know how you do it, but that's crazy that you remember stuff like that. So they actually do remember some of my encounters with spirit at the age of 2 and 3 as well. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, or anybody out in the audience, if you're familiar with hearing the man in the black hat, the shadow figure. He is real. I have to say that. And it took me years to talk about my story about that. So we lived in a very old home, and it was haunted. I didn't understand what haunted meant at that age, of course. And I was seeing this shadow figure. Every time my parents put me to bed, I would start screaming, crying. No, I don't want to go to sleep. He's going to be back. He's coming back. So my parents were trying to understand what I was saying. And I said, the man in the hat, he's got a hat. And it was almost like he didn't show his face. Not that I can remember, but I remember looking up at him and talking to him. And it would freak my parents out like crazy. So that started to amplify quite a bit, where my parents would change things around in the house and try to help me understand and help them understand what I was going through, what I was seeing. And I have an aunt that's a psychic medium who would come in and say, you know, she's not wrong. This is kind of what's happening. And so on and so forth. And the images are still very stuck in my head. I can still remember so much of that. So years kind of went by, just being a kid, not observing, not caring. Everything just disappears because I'm not acknowledging spirit anymore. Because you have that timeline as a child where you're still so in and out of spirit realm that this thing didn't make me feel scared. It made me feel safe. It made me feel like maybe it's a guide now that I look back on it, because I wasn't terrified, but I knew he didn't belong there. So age of 6, I had some kidney failure and was in Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto for quite a while. And I remember going into surgery, and this is kind of funny because this really dawned on me not long ago talking to my aunt about what I had seen, but it was almost like I had a near-death experience, but I'm not even sure if it was. But I was kind of talking about going into that dream state in the surgery. I could see this light, and it was like I was crawling up to the light and all these things, but something kept stopping me. And so in the hospital, after my surgery, I was kind of talking a little bit about it, and I was starting to feel and sense and see energy within the hospital, like as though that nothing was there, but I could see it and nobody else could see it. And it was really hard not being able to be heard in those categories. So I'm kind of just flip-flopping and jumping to the most that I can. When I went to school, middle school, it was very challenging for me. It was very hard for me to be accepted by other kids at school. And it was hard to make friends. I was bullied a lot in school by other girls. Because I was quiet and I was shy, but I was also sensing and picking up energy, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. And it gradually went into high school as well, where I was still having the same issues with the same girls, picking up and seeing things. We were living in this very old home, aside to the one that I lived into when I was younger. And there was a spirit in the house that I kept seeing from the corner of my eye. And I go, "Hey, Dad, like, I can see this spirit and I don't know why she's here." And my parents would be like, "Explain what's happening." And I said, "They're showing me a fire. I'm seeing a house fire. I can hear her singing. I can hear all these different things." And my dad's like, "Nope, we didn't have a fire in this house. The realtor said no." And I kept seeing this spirit. So coming from a Catholic family, I was not allowed to talk about this stuff as much as I do now. I had to be very quiet about it. So my dad ended up finding old firewood in the house as he was renovating. He goes, "Well, that's funny because the realtor told me this house was never on fire. Like, and it was all black burnt wood. And then all of a sudden you could start to smell it. And I was having dreams of this house on fire. I was seeing visions of 3 little girls that died in this fire. And where our house was, it was an old farm at one point. And when I was explaining this to my parents at 6 years old, my aunt had said prior to them that there were 3 girls that were trapped in the house due to a fire. So my parents were kind of understanding that maybe I was also a psychic medium and channeling with spirit. So my childhood was a little crazy. I was balancing between making friends, talking to ghosts, explaining this to my parents, having my grandmother tell me to keep hush, we don't talk like this, we can't be doing that. And I had a lot of mental health due to this because I felt very stuck and alone, and I wasn't really aware of my surroundings. I just thought it was very normal. So on and so forth. I could ramble on. But later on after high school, it really amplified. So we lived in, my hubby and I got our first apartment. We have a 1-year-old at the time. And, I wasn't thinking paranormal. That kind of stuff really spooked me out. I didn't want to be involved in it. My child's toys started being played with and scattered across the floor, and it was really starting to spook us out. We had a bathroom in the bedroom where we were, so we had to make sure that his toys were obviously cleared so we can go into the bathroom. So one night we woke up to hearing this Mickey Mouse Clubhouse being played with. And there was like this little elevator that was attached to it. So I was in a deep sleep and I'm being woken up from this. And I looked at my husband, I woke him up and I said, "Do you hear that?" He goes, "What? What is that?" And I said, "I don't know." And he flicks on the lights and he's like, "Holy cow, like, what just happened?" And just a pile of toys were scattered and just being played with. So I'm like, there's a little ghost in this house that clearly likes to play with our son. So that was really spooky. And so on and so forth. And, you know, you could feel the end of the bed being pressed down where your feet's kind of going down with the bed. And I was just feeling and seeing a lot of what I didn't want. I didn't want to open that door. I'm like, nope, 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 not doing it. It was really scary for me at the time. But I realized that I was a psychic medium, not knowing that I was. And I don't like the term psychic. I call myself a spiritual medium. I started hearing voices where my name was being called out, and I could repeat that same voice in my head for a good 5-10 minutes. And I thought I was going crazy, where I'd slept with a pillow like on my ear for a very long time because I was scared I was going to be startled being woken up, or, you know, you're doing dishes and all of a sudden it's happening. And I kept saying, nope, I don't want this. I don't want it. So my grandfather ended up having a massive heart attack. And this is kind of where I realized it was time to open up my gift, being a medium. And we were told he is going in the surgery and he's not coming out. So I said, okay. So we went and said our goodbyes. It was awful, awful experience when you're so close to your grandparents. And I went in and did a prayer and I said, listen, I will take this on and do whatever I need to do if you just allow my grandfather to have one more chance so he can be there for my grandmother. 2 days later, we get a call from the hospital. It's a miracle. He should not be alive. He's alive. We don't understand it. And when he woke up from his surgery coma, he talked about seeing his mom, because in my prayer, I was praying to his mom, his dad. And my dad just said, listen, like, I have a prayer for you that is absolutely unreal. And so he made that through. And I just started opening up and channeling and accepting that it was okay and I didn't need to be scared. I always say, like, our spiritual calling, it comes to us when we are meant to open it. And that for me, it really just really began and started. So I started opening up Facebook pages called Spiritual Growth. And that was about 6-7 years ago. And it's been taking off really great. So we talk about angels, spirit guides, connection, grounding, and we allow other people to come in and just talk about their journeys and their growth, and angel cards. And that's kind of when I realized that I wanted to be more of a light worker and work with the light beings and the light team and just do it in a way where it's not going to freak me out.
Very interesting life story, Sarah.
Let me tell you, I've repeated this so many times.
I'm guessing so.
I'm trying to like balance out, where do I like to stop, where do I begin?
But let's talk about a few things that you told us now.
Yes.
The first thing I wrote down on my little notepad here is it told us about that you have a good memory and you remember things from where you were 2 or 3 years old. Me too. I don't know for what reason, but I remember 2 things that happened to me when I was 3 years old. And it's a memory from the kindergarten. My mother brought me to the bus station where the kindergarten bus is picking me up. to get me to the kindergarten. And I was 3 years old. Like I said, I had my orange dungarees on with a little pocket in front, and I tried to hide a little toy car in this pocket here. And my mother found it, and she whooped me.
Yeah.
She slapped me like in the face. And this stuck with me forever. It's not a good thing. I can laugh about it now too, but it's not a good thing.
No.
And stuck with me forever. I was 3 years old. And the other thing is that when I was a little kid, and still to this day, I have very long eyelashes. And when I was a little boy, everybody came up to me and said, "Oh, this boy has such beautiful eyelashes and such long eyelashes." And I was pissed. Everybody liked my eyelashes, so I did cut them with scissors. Like, completely.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And my mother brought me to the bus station again, and she saw it, and she whooped me again. So
Oh no, man.
my memory is from where I was 3 years old.
Oh.
But you told us a story about how you dreamed of that house fire. And that's interesting. I just did a podcast a few weeks ago with a girl for the German podcast project. Her name is Marie, and she told me about a reoccurring dream that she has for years now. And she had this dream already when she was a little kid, and she's now, I don't know, she's in her 30s, and she still has this dream from now and then. And she has the dream of a very big mansion, very big house, beautiful house. And she said, "I know that I lived in this house with my parents." And she's dreaming of people storming that house, killing her parents, like really brutal, a lot of blood involved. And like they beat the parents to death and hack them with hatchets and I don't know, axes.
A lot of recurring dreams have a lot to do with our past lives.
Yeah.
And they're glimpses of those. And I have recurring dreams that are kind of like that as well. And it has to do with roller coasters, which is really weird. Like, I'm in a theme park and I'm terrified of this one roller coaster. It's almost like it went off the cart and I was in it. Like, it's so haunting that you couldn't catch me on a roller coaster now, because I'm constantly having this dream for about 4 years now. And I'm like, what's up with this roller coaster? There's something to do with my life, because my life can be a roller coaster ride sometimes, but I don't think that's it.
Yeah, maybe it's metaphoric.
Like, it's weird.
Dream. Metaphoric dream. Because
Yes.
it's a roller coaster, maybe. Marie also told me that she was brought out of the house, dragged out of the house by these people, and they burned her.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Burned her on the
So
pyre.
maybe, did she mention it could have been like a Salem thing? Like maybe with witch trials? Like, you hear a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't know.
They called her a witch in her dream. Yeah, they called her a witch, and she was burned on the pyre. And she, like I said, she has this dream since she's I don't know, 3-4 years old, and she still has this dream.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, I find the more you're so open spiritually, the more you accept and you can allow in, and you can just receive the data that our soul carries into all our new lives. It's so cool. You know, I'm always on YouTube and Google, like checking all this stuff out and always doing research. Like, there's nothing that makes me more happier than obviously trying to figure out who we are and why we are here, understanding our purpose, understanding why we came into this life. Yeah, I could go on and on about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit more about the paranormal investigations. And I had over the past few years, I've met a good number of ghost hunters / paranormal investigators for my German podcast project, and I came to the conclusion that ghost hunting and the paranormal investigations are not really for me. All this is very interesting and very interested in it. Don't get me wrong. The work with the various devices and the results obtained with them are often a little bit, in my opinion, again, questionable. For example, EVPs. and I love
Yep.
listening to EVPs. I've heard many EVPs, and with most of them, you have to be careful not to interpret more into it than there really is. But still, these EVPs are probably one of the most important things when it's for me, when it comes to the world beyond, so to speak. What is your opinion on EVPs?
I think they're great. I think the one tool that you should always have on an investigation is a recorder. But the way our cell phones are now these days, how high tech they are, I've caught EVPs videotaping on an investigation. I have not per se have caught very many EVPs as many people have, or watching on TV shows and stuff like that. But it's very cool when you catch one, because you're not always going to catch one. Not every investigation has a ghost or spirit per se. Sometimes it's something else, right? So when you catch those things, then you know that, all right, right on, we're in the right place to investigate. The one investigator that comes with me on my investigations, sometimes he has caught quite a few cool EVPs that I was able to listen to and go, holy cow, like that gives me goosebumps. But I think visual, we've caught in cooler things. I don't really care for the EVPs. A lot of people love them. But I like to put motion sensor stuff out for spirit to manipulate. I think it's good when you go on an investigation, you don't bring everything, you just pick a few things and you change it up. And yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Oh, sorry, Dustin, go on.
No, I was gonna say, what's the most haunted house or place that you investigated personally?
Yeah, there's definitely quite a few. I'm going to say probably Kingston, Ontario. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Kingston, Ontario. It's one of the most haunted populations here in Canada. It's beyond. If you Google it and look it up, it's freaking wild. So I was actually in my cousin's wedding last May, and I thought, you know what, like, we're going to Kingston, we're in Rockport, it's just outside of Kingston. I'm just going to bring some tools with me, and if I have time, I'm just going to whip them out. So here, this wasn't even an investigation, which is the coolest part. So here I'm in a gown, okay? And I'm not a girl that wears dresses all the time. So I'm like in this dress and I'm ghost hunting while everybody's out drinking. So yeah, we were, it was called the Boathouse Country Inn. So it was on the St. Lawrence River, which you can go, it's attached to like New York and Toronto. It's really interesting. It's beautiful scenery. So we get there, and I said to my sister, I'm so glad I brought some paranormal equipment, because check this place out. Like, this is incredible. And we're pulling up, and you got the whole river, the motels are here. This little place looks like a little castle. It was just so neat. And yeah, so that night, everybody's kind of settled in, and my sister and her hubby we're sharing like a motel room, and there's 2 beds. So I'm sitting on mine, they're sitting on theirs. And I said, let's pull some stuff out. I just want to see, because the energy is awesome. So outside of our window is the wedding party, and they're all hammered, having fun, super loud. And I end up putting a couple of these LED bulbs that I love. And I had my dowsing rods out. So these things just don't always work. So when I'm a like skeptical believer, because you have to be, and you have to debunk like this kind of stuff. So I'm talking to whatever is around me, if there was something around me, and I said, yeah, like, if there's a spirit here, can you let me know by tapping on that little ball right there? It will light up blue and red. All of a sudden it just goes off. And I'm like, holy shit. Oh my God. Excuse my French.
No.
And she's like, oh my God. And so I placed a couple for yes and no's for female and male. separate from each other. And I said, if you're a male, can you tap on that ball over there? And if you're a female, can you tap on this one? So the other one goes off and it's a male. And we're like, okay. And then I said, can you stop for a moment? So it stops. And I said, it's the crowds outside. Is it bugging you? And then they both start going off. And I'm like, okay, so you protect this place. This is you're not haunting it, but you're taking care of it. And so we got a lot of yes and no questions. So we turned it off. And the following night after the wedding party's happening. So we go sit on the St. Lawrence River with the spirit box. And we bring one of the LED balls and we're sitting there. And I said, can you tell me through this device what my sister's name is? And instantly said Brianna. And her husband just jumps 10 feet in the air because he's like, I don't want to believe in this stuff. Like, no. Can you tap on the ball beside me? And it starts lighting up. So we were getting a lot of validation of the St. Lawrence River through the spirit box. And we got lots of names. So for me, that was cool. So I'm showing my mom the videos and she's a couple rooms down from us. And I said, Mom, check this out. And she's like, oh, cool. Like, and then I'm like, there's something behind me. And all of a sudden I look up and the ceiling fan starts to turn like this and it's getting faster. And she's like, Sarah, get the heck out of my room. You're bringing spirits in here. And she starts freaking out. And she's like, 10 seconds after you left, the fan stopped. So it was cool. And we were having interactions the whole time. There was a cool church. We were up there. Just here we are, part of this wedding. And we're just having fun with spirits. So I think that was probably one of the most haunted locations I've ever been to. And it was quick for answers. And I had so much fun. Like, yeah, I'll have to tag in some videos so you can see.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, and then we have an opera house here in our town. The Aurelia Opera House. It's really nice. Gordon Lightfoot lived in my town. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gordon Lightfoot. He was a big part of our opera house, and he just passed away actually, and we had a big town memorial for him. We went to the opera house and I brought in a crew of my members. I had a couple other investigators show up and we had a lot of fun. We had a psychic medium in the basement with a spirit box. She had a group. I had a group. Here I'm doing 2 different lives. So I'm scrambled all over the place. We set out a couple motion sensors like REM pods, the LED balls out into the where all the seats were. We had the laser grid to detect shadow figures, and we're up on the stage at this point. So I brought my portal, which can help get clear communication from spirit. So you hook a spirit box up to it if you want, or an app, or you can do your own energy to bring in spirit. So spirit was talking to us with clear communication, going, we're going to touch the ball now. Okay. And then the ball would go off and you would hear, done, did it. And so everybody was just freaking right out. Like, we had so much fun. At one point, we have city buses that park outside of the opera house to go into the opera house to make lunch. Well, my aunt is in the basement with a group and she's like, I smell hot dogs. And we're upstairs in the stage and you can't even hear anything because it's so huge. The moment she said that, from the time that we caught on film, from the time that we were, the spirit box said hot dogs. So it was so funny because the moment she said it, spirit said it in 2 different locations. So we were just catching a lot of comical stuff that night. So that was really cool. But yeah.
Interesting.
That is awesome. Do
you use one of these Kinect cameras too?
I do. So another guy that comes out with me, he uses that. He has something like that. And he also sets cameras up so we can detect orbs and shadows and catch quite a bit. And then I take a tripod with 2 different other iPhones, and then I'm recording in different angles, and I catch a lot. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have experience with one of these Kinect cameras. I was at this very old castle nearby me, It's a
Yep.
pretty old medieval castle, and I was with a few paranormal investigators, and they pointed this Kinect camera at me in this old tower at this castle, and they said, "It's to your right. It's right besides Daniel." And I said, "What? Where?" And they said they detected a figure like standing right beside me, to my like an arm length away. And I said, "Okay, that's." I'm not sure if I believe in that stuff, but it was a little bit creepy. But then I thought, we're here at this old castle, medieval castle, hundreds of years old. There must be thousands of spirits that died here, people that died here, thousands. And we detect one. Yeah, and they also use their spirit box and try to catch something in the spirit box, but no success. Strange. But
Sometimes you'll get stuff or you won't. It all depends on spirit and how much they want to communicate.
yeah.
So it's interesting. But yeah, we actually caught a shadow figure at a haunted library that we did a couple investigations at. And I'm telling you, it was really cool going there. Very old library. It's downtown Bracebridge, Ontario, and that whole street is just full of energy and amazing stories. So we had the public come in to the library. So they bought tickets and all the money went towards the library and new books for kids and so on and so forth. And we had stations. So I was there to help the investigator who set this all up. So I was in the children's library area, and then we had a couple of other people doing other paranormal things. We were talking about different equipment. So here we're setting up, and Troy was upstairs setting up the cameras and the angles, and my aunt and this other fella, Brandon, was upstairs, and they were talking, and all of a sudden this black figure runs super fast through the aisles of the books. And my aunt looks over like this, and Brandon looks like this, and he's like, "You saw that?" She goes, "You caught that too?" And he's like, "Yeah." They're like, "Holy crap." They're like, "Where's Sarah?" Because I was in all black. And then Troy turned around and said, "She's downstairs. What happened?" They're like, "Oh my God, we just saw a black figure, but it looked like a black mask. Like it was just so fast." That part of the library, I felt before this, I didn't want to go up there. So before this happened, I actually had a dream 2 weeks before this that I caught a black shadow up there in that part of the library, and I was chasing it, and I was saying, "I'm not scared of you. I don't fear you." It was just like a nightmare. Like it was just scary. And I woke up and I'm texting them and I'm like, "Guys, I don't think we should go back. Like I have a bad feeling because this was my dream and this is what happened." So of course they encouraged me to go back. And I'm like, I don't really want to go up to that part. And here they caught the black shadow figure. So I was like, how do you tell people that?
Yeah, crazy. Do you oh, Dustin is gone. I think his modem shut down again. No problem. Do you think that spirits, let's say somebody died in 1610, for example, do you think that spirits understand what you're doing when you have a paranormal investigation?
I think it depends on the investigator and how they're going about their investigation. I feel like if you go in with an open mind and an open heart and you explain what you're doing and you're like, "Hey, I'm just here to get your story. I'm here if you need help to cross over to the light. Did you know that you have died?" I guess it's the way you speak to a spirit. For me, I talk to spirit the way I would talk to a human being. I talk with love and comfort, and that's why I don't fear doing the work that I do. But if you go in provoking and poking the bear and "come on out," and then yeah, they're not going to be happy and they're not going to understand what you're doing because they don't want no part of it. Now they feel like you're invading their space and now they're not happy. So that's when activity can pick up, and it can seem like it's an entity, but it's really just a pissed off spirit. I think spirit just wants to be heard and understood, and they have unfinished business. They don't know why they have died, or they're looking for their loved ones.
Do you think they know where they are? Which realm, so to speak?
I think I couldn't give the proper answer because I don't know, but I feel yes and no, depending on the spirit and depending on where, because a lot of places that people investigate or I've investigated, you get a lot of help. Help me. I need help. Or this spirit is mean. We're hiding from him. Well, who are you hiding from? And it ends up being a grumpy spirit. And we have run into a situation like that where we did an investigation at this library. We were called Satan. We were called the devil. We were called every name in the book, from swear words to swear words. We did the SD method with the headphones and the spirit box, and the F-bombs were just constant. And then we noticed that doing a walk around in our surroundings, that there were 2 churches beside the library, and they thought what we were doing was the devil's work. It was bad. But we were trying to tell them, hey, it's not bad. We're not here to be, we're here to help you. And some of those spirits didn't really know where they were. They didn't know that they were in a library. It's almost like they're stuck in a realm time that they remember. And sometimes a spirit in the same spot as another spirit don't even realize that they're in the same space. So they're living 2 different time zones and they can't connect or see each other. So then you're working with 2 different spirits trying to help. Like it's a lot of work.
I'm guessing so. I saw you're using these dowsing rods, and you're
Yes.
using this dowsing rods in combination with the spirit box, if I saw right in that video. What's the purpose?
Yeah, so I built a portal, and it's basically a lot of cords and so on and so much to it. And it helps amplify spirit communication. And you can hook it up to a spirit box, and it takes the fuzziness out of the spirit box. Or you can plug an app into it like the Netrophonic, and it helps tone down things behind it for you to understand. So I like to use that with my dowsing rods, and it comes with your own connection, your own light, your own love, and how you respond and connect with spirit. So I'll take out my rods, and I like to use my LED rods from the ghost hunting store. And I'll ask spirit what colors are in my hands. And if it's on blue, they'll go blue, blue, and then they have fun with it. And you can hear the excitement in spirits' voices. And I love capturing that to show people that, you know, they can have fun with this too. And I used to do a lot more lives with it, and it just always worked out, like red, pink, green. So can you point to where you are? All of a sudden the rod will point to where they are. Or can you cross for yes? Can you open for no? And I was always skeptic of them, because our subconscious is so strong that we could probably make things move in certain ways, you know. But there are times that I've used them where I'm not so skeptic in those moments. I found lost objects with them many of times, and I'm like, how the hell did that even happen? You know, my husband lost his keys, and I'm like, I'm getting the dowsing rod. So I'm looking for the keys, and it kept pointing to the fridge. And I'm like, nope, they're not on the fridge. They're not behind the fridge. An hour later, we open up the freezer door. They're in the freezer, like they fell and slipped. Yeah, we have so many stories on that. But I enjoy them. You know, it's kind of like a Ouija board in a way, but different method. You know, I'm not a big believer on the Ouija board. I say put a mask on your face, cover your eyes, you know, like our subconscious just has such a big part in, I think, a lot of things. So I don't know.
What was my question? Did you use the Ouija board?
No,
Not at all.
I've never used it. I've never used it. And here's the thing. A lot of people say, don't use them. Don't use them. But the thing is a spirit box is worse than a Ouija board. It's the same thing. Anything that has to do with paranormal equipment, you are opening up a portal and you are opening up communication to spirit. It is all the same. And all these tools work differently for people. The dowsing rods work for me. 90% of investigators would probably say they don't work for them, but I like them. Yeah, it's interesting. I like to use them when I'm channeling with spirit for fun, with doing some lives or performances in haunted locations for the public, and I allow them to hold them and allow them to feel their loved ones. And it does bring a lot of emotion to them because they're opening that up. So
Interesting. In one of your videos, I saw that you've been at a cemetery and you did a investigation with some devices there. My opinion on cemeteries is that there should be no paranormal activity at all, but that's just my subjective perception. Don't take my word for it. I think that if there's something like a soul, it leaves the body in the moment of death, and I do not think that it will follow its vessel to the cemetery. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, so with my cemetery walkarounds, it's actually what I like the cemeteries is I can debunk my equipment better because there's no underground piping. There's nothing that can make sound waves or things to go off. Like if you're using dowsing rods, I guess you can detect water and whatnot. But I take some of my members there once or twice a year, and what we do is we walk around and we look at the dates on the tombstones, and we talk about more like life after death. You know, we'll put a couple gears out, a couple spirit boxes and stuff. But when I go in there, I like to channel more with I guess I'd say like angels and stuff like that, because I always tell people cemeteries are not haunted. They're actually very peaceful because once we die, we don't care about that body anymore. So for, I guess, a paranormal investigation in the cemetery, I wouldn't say investigating, but more connecting with what a cemetery is, and using tools to show people that they work in cemeteries, because right now they're legit. They can't really bounce off of anything. So it's kind of cool. I like to go there and sit and do journaling. I'll sit at my grandmother's tombstone and sometimes, you know, put the spirit box on, but I don't get that much validation in a cemetery. I just find them peaceful.
Yeah, that's true. It's I love cemeteries. I love walking around on cemeteries. I love it. Like I said, it's very peaceful.
I opened up Keeping Up with Spirits Facebook page, YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is kind of new, and I'm on TikTok as well. But I like to show people what paranormal is like here in Ontario, because here in Ontario, there's not a lot of paranormal. There's only a minimum of investigators that I know of, and you're very limited to haunted locations because of government. It's got to be closed down. You can't go in. So, but I like to put things out there to show what spirit's like. But I don't call myself a ghost hunter. I don't like that term, ghost hunter, and it's okay that others do, no judgment. I call myself an afterlife researcher.
Oh, that's a good term. I don't like
Yeah.
the term ghost hunter either, because you're not hunting the ghosts.
That's how I feel. You can't really hunt the ghost, but you can communicate with the ghost.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I channel with afterlife in many different ways. I call myself a spirit communicator. I channel not just with spirit, but I've channeled with my guides. I've channeled with angels. I've proved and shown that they're real, that they do exist. I've had them come through the portal. I've had validation messages, and I think my purpose here is just to connect with afterlife and to show people that when we die, that we do go home and we are okay, that this is all an illusion. None of this exists. This is just part of our DNA. We just have to have experiences, and that we live many other lives being different types of beings. We are being taught we are all the same, but we can be anything we want to be, you know.
How do you explain to your kids, because since you talked about your kids when we started, how do you explain to your kids what the paranormal is or what spirits are?
So I won't talk to them about negative spirits. So my older son, he's 12. He likes to watch Final Destination with me, that paranormal show, if you're familiar with it. Yep. He loves it. He goes, Mom, like, we're doing that one day. So he gets right into it. But my kids also see how many people I've helped through readings and how I've changed people's lives by helping them understand that their loved ones are always with them. So my kids see that I'm doing good with my work, and they're very proud of me. There's times, you know, they go, Mom, you got to turn that off. It's scary. But when I'm doing any type of portal sessions, I won't do it in front of my kids, because it is scary. So I try to do it outside of the home. And if I'm home and they're out, then I'll protect myself and I'll do it. But I'm very careful when it comes to opening up that door, because if you can't close it, then you're in trouble. So yeah, they get a kick out of it. So I grew up watching Ghost Hunters with my dad. So we were always so intrigued with, you know, the flashlight method, which is my absolute favorite that I do on my investigations. And I said to my dad, you know, one day I'm going to do that. Like, I want to try that out. You know, last night we were watching Ghost Hunters for like 5 hours. It's just something we bond with.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I can tell you guys one more thing if you
Sure.
want. This is really cool. So you guys are familiar with the term spirit guides? Okay. So about 4 years ago, I was struggling with some mental health and feeling just a lot of emotion. And, you know, my grandmother had just passed, and we were very close. And my spiritual path kept changing and things kept happening. And I was in my room and I'm praying to my guides and saying, listen, like, if there really are spirit guides, I need you to prove it to me. I really need you to show me 100%. I said, I need to see it. I have to see it. And I'm, you know, pouring my heart out to everything that's going on that I need their assistance with. And a couple of days later, I'm at work, and a friend and I are pulling out of this driveway, and it's way out in the country, like trees everywhere. There's no houses. There's nothing but a dirt road. We're pulling out, and before we start to turn left to drive off, this old man comes walking, probably about 85 years old. And I roll down my window and I say, hi, sir, is there anything I can help you with? And he says, yeah, actually there is. Do you know what's behind my hand? And I said, no. He goes, well, take a guess, because I know you know. I'm like, who is this guy, right? Like, okay. I'm like, well, I'm picturing the number 100. I don't know, I'm seeing it. And he goes, how did you know that? And my friend looks at him and says, oh, she's psychic. She does this all the time. And he starts to laugh, and he goes, I have a piece of paper behind my hand, and I want you to see it because you asked for this. So I am showing you. And I'm like, okay. A little yellow sticky note with red pen said 100%. He said, you were asked to be shown 100%, and you deserve 100%. So here it is. And I was speechless. And I said, thank you. I appreciate that. He goes, okay, well, my job's done. And he walks away. And my friend's like, what was that all about? And I'm so speechless. And I'm rolling up the window and we're driving down the road. And I said to my friend Candace, I said, Candace, I don't think you understand. And she's like, what? I said, I prayed to my spirit guides the other night and I asked to be shown 100%. And that man was either my guide or an angel. I don't know what that was, but holy shit, that just happened. And she just starts bawling her eyes out, flooding. She's like, every time we talk about this, Sarah, I cry. She goes, that was crazy. And I felt like, okay, you know what? I know my purpose and I'm going to do it. I'm going to help people. I'm going to bring the light into people again. I am going to heal people with just words of prayer, and prayer is so powerful to whoever you pray to, whether it's God, the universe, or your own God. After that prayer, I knew now that I'm being heard and that I'm on the right path in my life. And it's just basically like, hey, you're going to go through some roller coaster rides with your spiritual awakening, but buckle your seatbelts because here we go. And ever since that happened, my eyes have been opened up more to what eyes cannot see. I look at nature differently. I look at people differently. I forgive people. I forgive the people that let me down in my life, the girls that bullied me. I have learned to just have mercy and to know that, you know, things really do exist. And it was the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's an incredible
Yeah.
story, Sarah. Thank you for sharing it with us. Very interesting. Before we wrap it up for today, please let people know where they can find you online.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can follow me on Facebook if you want. I'm under Sara with a double A, Sophia. You're welcome to just follow. And I have a Facebook page. It's closed, called Keeping Up with Spirits. And I have a Facebook page called Spiritual Growth. On the front cover, you'll see an angel wings with the blue background. And in the month of November, we teach free mediumship. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. We do Zoom. We call it give and receive a reading. So we have the givers and we have the readers. And it's just to allow you to open up your abilities, and there's no judgment, and we have the greatest time. And again, we do a lot of really cool walk and talks. We talk about just about anything. And I'm excited for my journey to continue because I have lots coming up. And yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Nice.
That's
We will put
awesome.
some links in the description box so people can find you more easy. Okay, like I said, we have to wrap it up for today. It was very interesting. Thank you so much for being our guest today, and I hope we can meet again. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of more stories that you can
Yes.
tell. Yeah, let's schedule a new date and meet again.
Sounds great. Well, thank you guys so much for having me and allowing me to just ramble on and not make sense at times, but
Yeah, no, thank you.
time, that's what happens.
You're welcome. Please stay with us for 2 more minutes, okay?
Okay.